Who's this? Yeah, this is the Rock Fantasy Football Podcast. Yeah. Yeah, we are the number one fantasy football podcast in America. Welcome in, everybody.
Hello. How are we all doing?
Week 14 of the fantasy football season.
The last, and more importantly, the last week of regular season.
The last regular season week.
This is where everyone's making their push.
I think this is the second to last podcast. I've been off in my numbers recently. But
yeah, this should be our
this
second
should be
to
the
last.
second to last one.
Unfortunately, it will be.
Unfortunately. But
I hope you guys are back at it. I hope you guys are all as sad as us.
We're back at it. But
you know us. We like to go ahead and just get right into the action.
Yeah.
So
we'll reintroduce ourselves.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Brayden Rischer.
I'm Sammy Miceli.
Two co-hosts of this amazing fantasy football
Ready
podcast.
to bring you the best news ever.
Yeah. And like I said, you know us. We like to jump right into it. So we're going to go ahead and start off with a recap from Week 13. And to start it off, the Monday night heater of a game, Jerry Jeudy has his best performance of the year with 9 receptions, 235 yards, and a touchdown. He had almost 40 points. I think he had over 40 points in some leagues. He had a great game.
They still came out with the loss, though.
They did. I mean, it's the most typical Jameis Winston stat line. You give up the 500 yards passing, the 4 touchdowns, but then to tie along with it, you got 3 interceptions.
Yeah, he's balling. It's like his 30-30 season.
Yeah, it is like his 30-30 season.
But the Browns might be my favorite below 500 team right now.
Oh, I tell you what.
They aren't going to make the playoffs, but
they are not at all.
They're fun.
They are fun
to watch.
And Jameis is even more fun to watch. She's just hilarious.
He might be. I don't know if he probably won't end up playing at all next year for the Browns.
Honestly, unless they don't draft a QB. If they draft a QB,
they'll probably end up drafting a QB.
Yeah, I mean realistically they should, but I mean they're still
because they're going to be pretty low on the list.
Well,
do they still have any picks?
Yeah, they do, but it's not like good picks.
Yeah.
What I did see though is or what I've heard is rumors of Deshaun Watson being released, even though he has 2 years left on his contract, and even though they're still going to be paying him over $50 million for those 2 years. Needless to say, the Deshaun Watson trade was the biggest fleece of all time.
It is.
If we look back at it now, you can see the Texans. They got C.J. Stroud out of it. Anderson.
He was good.
He was good on the Texans for about 2 years, and then 2 or 3 years.
2-year stretch.
Yeah,
didn't work out though.
His entire football career, or NFL pro career, is pretty much just based off of those 2 years that he had at the Texans.
And after his allegations.
Oh, don't even get me started on those.
We'll move on. Bucky Irving, he might be the new RB1, and
I think he is.
He probably is.
He's been playing like it at least. I mean, Rachaad White got kicked to the curb this game. I mean, he had a touchdown. He did. Actually, I don't think he did.
But putting up 150 and a touchdown.
That's a great week.
That's a good week.
He won NFC Player of the Week as a rookie. I mean, that's a pretty good award to add to your resume, especially for next year. I mean, for people who have him and you're not in the playoffs, I would honestly target him next year. Don't be like a lot of people from this year targeting Rachaad White, and that
did not. Round.
Yeah, that obviously did not pan out all too well.
But you can almost guarantee at least one of those 3
are going to get points.
They're going to get points.
Now, if you have all 3, Tucker. If you have at least those big 2, you're probably okay.
Yeah.
Sean Tucker, though?
Sean Tucker is very inconsistent. You could always get some points out.
He gets those goal line touches. If you're in a deep league, I get it. I get the once.
If you're running low on people to pick up and he's still out there.
Yeah, I mean, but how many?
Him up.
Yeah, but I mean, how many running back rooms do you know that they use all 3 running backs, and they use them all for different things? I mean, I don't know too many.
I don't know. The Lions could use 3.
They could use 3, but they don't have a need to.
They don't need to.
I would say one of the only other teams that I know of, at least, would be that I don't have like a true workhorse running back is the Broncos. The Broncos have Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, and Javonte, that they all 3 rotate. Sean Payton's come out and said it's whoever they're riding the hot hand. And speaking of that, like Jaleel McLaughlin, he had the hot hand on Monday night, so that's why he got the ball more. I could kind of see that being the same thing with the Bucs. It's just Todd Bowles seems pretty okay with riding the hot hand, and whoever it is, that's who they're going to give the ball to. I mean, you saw that with Bucky. I mean, he had over 20 attempts rushing. So, I mean, they rode the hot hand pretty hard.
We had a big matchup this week, Ravens and Eagles.
That was a great game.
Did
you watch that game?
I did.
I
made sure to watch.
Oh, come on now. I had to be watching because I have two players in that. I had
probably the two best players in there.
Yeah, I still am really baffled that I even got them. I had Saquon and Derek in both of these, but what's more important is that Saquon played pretty dang well for being against a tough and hard-nosed Ravens defensive front. Honestly, the same with Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry gets a touchdown like Saquon did, they both have almost the same point.
It might have been a different story this week.
Yeah, they also did have like practically the same points. Like Saquon did have over 20, but had Derrick gotten his normal touchdown, it would have been about the same thing. So, I mean, Derrick's been kind of slow getting into the end zone the last couple weeks. I would still be patient. He does have some hard matchups coming up. But they are making their playoff push, even though they are already in the playoffs. They are still looking for that number one spot in the division. So I would expect, some Derrick Henry to get pushed back into this, even though he's been getting 20 attempts. I'm saying more of goal line touches.
Yeah.
Because last couple of weeks, if you notice, Ravens have been scoring deep touchdowns, and when they get down to the end zone,
Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, and when they got down to the end zone, they did a speed option, more of where they let Lamar kind of just decide.
And I think
Mark Andrews has been playing pretty well.
He's been getting more red zone targets.
He has. He's been getting into the end zone a lot. And that's honestly the most important thing about tight ends. I mean, if you can get a tight end that gets into the end zone, nothing else really matters.
Speaking of another AFC North team, Najee Harris, he's been stepping it up this year.
He's been playing very well.
26 points this week. But, I mean, I don't know. This wasn't really expected because Jaylen Warren was supposed to, at least going into the year, he was supposed to be getting more touches than what he has been.
Yeah, and I mean, it was kind of surprising to see how involved Najee was in the passing game. Recently, it's been more of Jaylen Warren in the passing game, but Russell found him on some dump-offs this week, and he had some big runs with them. So, I mean, that ended up boosting his amount of points that he had for that week in general. I mean, had he not... I remember seeing a long reception that Najee had down the middle of the field. I mean, I'm pretty sure that boosted him a lot. It had, I think it was a 30-yard reception, so, I mean, that gave him quite a few points.
But he's looking more like Alabama.
He's looking like... Yes, he is.
Because last year he was looking slow.
Like Grandpa Najee.
And that's horrible. That's why I thought Jaylen Warren was maybe going to get...
I would have thought so, too, honestly, if you follow the trend.
More.
But, I mean, what's crazy about Jaylen is Jaylen has had one game this entire season where he's surpassed 10 points.
Yeah.
I mean... It's horrible. I mean, his usage this year compared to last year is just underwhelming. How much they pretty much just said, all right, we're done with you. I mean, it's not it wasn't like a we're done with you thing, but it was like we found a better option. We're going to stick with the better option.
There's only one thing you can guarantee about the Steelers, and that's if they're up late in the fourth quarter and they need a first down. The RPO. It's good.
Gosh, watching that game,
it's always gonna get the option's always gonna go to Justin Fields.
It didn't make sense to me. Even the announcers were saying that they didn't know why the Bengals defensive coordinator didn't tell them maybe don't bite when Justin Fields is out there because they bit hard. They came right off that edge and Justin went right around him for an easy first down.
And then he just slides in there.
I mean it was
just slides in.
It's all you need. And, I mean, he's been doing what they need him to do, although I do think he does get traded over the offseason. I think he will go somewhere else. I don't know where he will go, but I think he does go somewhere else. But we'll see how that pans out.
I think the Jets could possibly.
I've heard rumors of that as well. And that's a very high possibility. Jonnu Smith. He's been on a tear these last couple weeks.
Would you have expected this?
No. Bigger question is, would you have expected Jonnu Smith to be leading the team in targets through the month of November?
No, I would not.
Yeah.
I would have thought it was Tyreek Hill.
I think any logical person would have assumed that Tyreek Hill was going to be at the top of that. But no. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but Jonnu and Tua have created some sort of connection over this last month. And, I mean, he's turned into a must-start every week. He's getting the ball regardless of where he is being played, regardless of the matchup. He is getting the ball. He's getting dump offs. I mean, he had 10 receptions for 121 yards. We're used to seeing that touchdown, but he didn't even need the touchdown. He had those 10 receptions. So, I mean, that's all that really matters.
You know he's having a good season when he's got more catches than Tyreek Hill has kids. He's getting more bonuses. He's getting more bonuses than...
He's getting the biggest bonus of his career, I think.
He's getting the child support payments that Tyreek Hill has to make.
He's getting those paid off for sure.
We have
pretty much just two more. It's the same team, so we'll go ahead and correlate them too.
The Commanders. We had Jalen Daniels.
Two players.
Jaden Daniels. Why did I say Jalen Daniels?
Who knows? KU quarterback.
Jaden Daniels. 4 total touchdowns this week.
2 of them to Terry.
And him and Terry McLaurin, both with 28 points this week.
Yeah, I mean, that game was
that is kind of what you expect.
From your wide receiver one.
He does balance out his running and
he spreads it out pretty well.
Passing.
He does. And, I mean, what's more important, too, is that you saw Terry's targets in the red zone go up, which is what he never really had prior to this last couple weeks. I mean, now that he's getting into the end zone more, he's becoming a true wide receiver one. And I think that if he can hold up this red zone targets, the points are bound to keep coming. And same with Jaden. I mean, Jaden's finding his rhythm. He was not that he never really wasn't in a rhythm, but earlier in this season, about a couple weeks ago, he had a stretch where he was just not playing good. And this game was kind of a get-back game, and he got back already. Yeah. He got back.
If we're just looking overall at this season for Terry McLaurin, this is kind of what I feel like the last 3 or 4 years, he's been one of those where it's like it's not really surprising that he's at this level, but it's
exactly. But I think,
but they've been expecting him to do it.
Yes, and what I think is more important too is that this is proving Terry McLaurin's potential. This is proving what the Commanders have had, but they just didn't do anything with because they had no quarterback.
I also have heard the rumor there's a petition going around to
change him back to the Redskins.
Bring the name back.
I would love that. I mean, what's also insane to me is that even the Native Americans that were supposedly offended by the name came out and said they were never offended, and if anything, they took pride in it. So I never really understood how that got changed.
But who knows?
We'll see. We're not the commissioner, so we can't.
We are not Roger Goodell.
We do not make the rules.
Maybe he should make us.
We don't make the rules.
Maybe we should be the co-commissioners of the league.
I don't know. Maybe
they need to change the ownership group to us for Washington.
Maybe I think it's
a definite.
Moving to news and notes.
News and notes.
Teams on bye this week. We got Broncos, Colts, Ravens, and Washington. This is the last bye week of the season. I personally, can you give me your thoughts on that? What do you think about having a bye week on week 14? I don't remember this last year. If there was,
I do remember they did have it last year.
I didn't remember it.
There wasn't as many important teams. I feel
this year I feel like there's a lot more important teams that are actually on bye. But honestly, at the beginning of the year, you could have never expected.
You can't tell.
I mean, Ravens, I understand. You could never have expected that the Broncos and Washington would both be playing like this with the
Colts. You kind of expected.
Yeah, the Colts. I mean, you kind of expected that.
That's the only real expectation out of
it. So after that, moving on to the actual notes of I guess it's more news. It's more news than anything else because they're all injuries. There's a lot of injuries this week. And I want to talk about...
It's what you expect when we're in week 14.
Oh, players are getting tired. They're getting worn down. Their bodies are getting tired. They're becoming degraded by these defenses. These defenses are... If anything, defenses are getting stronger while these offensive players are getting weaker.
Yeah. Weak knees.
I want to talk about the first player, or one of these players first. Taysom Hill. He is done for the year. He tore his ACL against the Rams.
Let's also mention McCaffrey.
And McCaffrey's done for the year.
He's done for the fantasy football.
I would have to say he's probably done for the year, even if they make the playoffs.
Out. Jordan Mason's out.
Jordan Mason's on IR now.
Isaac Guerrero is going to become the lead back.
Yeah, and they also added a running back that I do not know how to say the last name of. They took him from the Jets practice squad. He was the backup of the backup. It's like Abacanda or something, like Abaconda.
Anaconda.
Yeah, it's like Anaconda don't want none of that. I don't.
He doesn't want it.
I don't want none of that. And unless he could prove something this week, I don't see him taking the backfield. They might split a little bit of carries, but it should be Guerrero's backfield.
Moving on, we're gonna move to the Chargers. That's another team that's been
injury riddled.
Lad McConkey
He's dealing
knee and shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see that very often. 2 injuries
But
same week.
he had a big game last week. No touchdowns, but a lot of catches.
A lot of catches.
That's kind of
that first half was his career high. He had 107 yards in the first half.
They could be drafting another receiver this year, though. You think that they will?
I mean, if QJ keeps playing like this, I mean, it's going to be hard for you not to. I could see them. Well, I mean, it's going to be hard for them to even get one unless they sneak their way into like the top 25 pick. They could maybe get like Luther or like Emeka Egbuka. I mean, you're not going to get as much value for your pick compared to what you would want at like a Tetereto and McMillan.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're not going to get him at the 25th. You have to be the top 8 pick to be able to get that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but if they do draft a receiver, it will be probably later rounds. They need to improve running back for sure. J.K. Dobbins has been great, but he's getting old. So is Gus. They're both getting old. They need that. They also need, quite badly, they need linebackers. Khalil Mack, he's getting old.
Joey
Bosa's getting old. I mean, your edge rushers are getting old. They need edge rushers. Yeah. I mean, so there's defensive spots that they probably need to fill before worrying about offense, especially when you have a good player like McConkey. McConkey's playing well this year, and there's no real reason to draft another receiver to almost, I guess, ruin his morale from believing that he was going to be the one receiver, like the wide receiver one for that team for his career.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I rambled.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Seahawks, though.
They are
that
in
is
a bad
place. Situation.
They're in a bad place right now.
When you're this late into the season and
you have 2 of your best players.
You're missing your 2 best players.
Yeah, I mean.
Now I know you have JSN, but
JSN's been almost.
He's been stepping up.
And then
Will Dissly. Will Dissly's been stepping up a little bit.
He's in the Chargers. That's the Chargers. Noah Fant, I think you're talking about.
Why am I? No. Will Dissly was on the.
He was, but I think he means Noah Fant, right?
Yes, Noah Fant.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping so. Noah Fant actually has been having an okay year.
Will Dissly also has been stepping it up though for the Chargers.
Dissly has been doing that as well. That we can't shy away from that. Especially if McConkey can't play this week. If McConkey can't play this week, expect a great week from Dissly. I want to add to that. But what hurts the most about this is I have both of these players on my team. I have Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf on my team.
DK Metcalf actually he's been pretty good all year. He's really struggled lately.
Yeah, that shoulder injury he had against the Falcons, it's been lingering. It's been pretty obvious too.
Who knows? We might even see the K-State Wildcat himself, Tyler Lockett. He might get some more targets this week.
I mean, one can only hope. Lockett's been having a horrible year. I mean, he's just not – I wouldn't say horrible. He's doing what they need them to do, but he's not –
But it's what you expect out of an older receiver.
I mean, this probably is one of his last couple years in the NFL. Yeah. I wouldn't expect to be seeing him around much longer. We didn't really talk about the injuries, though. DK definitely –
it's more
50-50.
It's more likely that he's going to be out.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's out. He didn't practice. He also did not come out to say anything about his injury. So, I mean, I guess we don't really know the seriousness. The coach has said that it's literally like a 50-50. It kind of just depends on DK himself. Yeah. Kenneth Walker, you want to talk about that?
Kenneth Walker, limited in practice. But it's probably more likely that he's going to play.
I would see Kenneth playing.
But they do have Zach Charbonnet, so it's not.
If he doesn't play.
He's performed good in the games that
Kenneth has not performed.
Played. But, I mean, it's not like the first. I guess it's not the first concern. I'd be more concerned if they didn't have DK.
I would be too. And I mean that's
but you want to have both of them.
You do, and you always want both of them.
Yeah. Moving on. Josh Jacobs has been cleared to play for tonight.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that he plays. It says that he has been, right?
Yeah,
so he's been clear. He had a lingering calf issue. He's had it for apparently a couple months now, but
this is what Josh Jacobs was expected to do. I mean, he wasn't having a good season to start, but
he's been finding the end zone. I mean, he's been his last couple weeks off that. Ever since their bye week, he's had like 28, 20. He's been in the 20s almost every game.
Yeah, we were high on Josh Jacobs, but
beginning of the year we were extremely high. He ruined our expectations. So now,
but then it's coming back.
He's building it back.
He went from down here, and now we're not looking as bad of predictors. So maybe
we're not that bad. Maybe we do know what we're talking about.
If somehow Mr. Hockey lets us come back next year, or if we pass the torch to someone else.
We're going to pass the torch to Ethan.
If we just pass it on. If someone wants to do it.
We're going to pass the torch to Ethan.
We'll pass it to him, and we'll give you our picks for next year's draft.
Oh, yeah. Going to another player, another running back.
That we already mentioned before.
We already have mentioned him.
Bucky
Irving. He was sidelined for Wednesday's practice with a hip injury. He has high hopes for playing this weekend. If not, like we've already talked about, two of those running backs should be set for Rashad White and Sean Tucker should both be set for good days.
Yeah. And then our last, it's two, but we're combining it into one. DJ Moore and Keenan Allen both did not practice.
Both DNPs.
So that's not a
good sight for
midway. You do have Roma Dunze and Cole Kmet, but
that's not a good sight. Not a good sight for midway through the week, especially on a Wednesday. If they don't practice today, or if they're even limited today, I would say it's going to be hard for me to even want to play either of them if I had them on my team.
Is DeAndre Swift still?
DeAndre Swift, I think is he questionable?
Yes, he is.
So
this is not. He also didn't practice either.
So there are three of
their big players are all
out. Well, not out, but all questionable,
and they all did not practice.
Yeah. So this could be a bad week. They play San Francisco, already a hard matchup,
and they're on a just downward spiral right now.
It is, but you gotta assume that this is the week that they gotta get back. I mean, they have to start winning if they want any shot at the playoffs. They are 5-7 right now. They're not out of contention, especially with how up in the air that division is right now. I mean, everyone's within a game or two of each other. So I mean, it's not over by any means. Everyone could end up 10-7 in that division. I'm not kidding when I say that either.
Moving on to everybody's favorite segment, Cash or Trash.
You can go ahead and start.
I'll start off.
Yeah, you go ahead and start.
So, we already mentioned him before. I'm going with Isaac Garendo. They are playing the Bears. The Bears are just okay on the run. And I think that the 49ers need some spark. And
I gotta have some.
I think Garendo could be the spark that they need.
He
has had one good game this year, but I think this could be his
breakout.
This could be his prove it. I don't know if they'll try and keep him for next year. I don't know what the status.
It's going to be tough.
I don't know what his contract is or not.
I think that backfield's going to be a battle.
If he's on a contract year, then this is definitely his prove it part of the year.
Yeah, that backfield right now.
Weeks 14 through 18, it's going to be his prove it.
Yeah, especially if they really don't involve the guy that they just brought in, Abaconda or whatever his name is. If they don't involve him at all, Garendo should be a great play. Yeah. I mean, I don't think this the kid that they brought in off a practice squad is going to have that big of an impact. But if he is a bigger back, so if he does start taking goal line snaps from Garendo, that's going to hurt his overall fantasy output. And I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see how they play everyone.
Yeah.
Going to my cash player of the week. This one is quite obvious. Saquon Barkley. I mean, come on. It's Saquon. Saquon's having an MVP season. He's on pace to break Eric Dickerson's all-time leading rushing record of 2,105 rushing yards in a season. If he holds up his pace right now, he is breaking that.
It's probably going to continue. They're playing
Carolina. This could be a ginormous week.
This is a 5-star matchup.
Oh, I mean, looking at it on paper, incoming 30-point week. I don't know how it couldn't be. I mean, this is like, I don't know how it couldn't be.
The only thing that I would worry about is if they're up too much.
Yeah.
And even then, I still think they'll run it.
And the problem, what I've noticed too is with the Eagles is whenever they get up by a lot, they take out Saquon because they want to preserve him for the next couple of weeks. Because I mean, he's
had an injury history.
He does have a very long injury history, but he's been looking very healthy this year. He's honestly not had even a single issue with him. Like, he's never had a single injury all year. He's never even been questionable. So I would say his health stays the same. I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up big in this game. Like, if they are ending up up by 20-plus points. Don't be surprised if Saquon's not in there.
My trash player this week, it's It's actually a kind of surprising one. Puka Nakua, they're playing at home against Buffalo, but I know it's a far trip for Buffalo fans, but it's always a home game for whoever's on the road. It doesn't even matter. The Chargers at least have
they got a fan base.
They have a fan. They have a fan.
I know one.
I know one specifically.
Yeah. But what I would say is
the Rams are the complete opposite.
The Rams have no fans. I don't understand how it every time you would look at an NFC divisional game and they were playing the Niners or whatever, the Niners would
always
it was
red.
It was a full red stadium. So the Bills, their fans travel well. Bills Mafia travels well. I doubt this has any home field advantage. Josh Allen's playing like Josh Allen's MVP, he's playing like an MVP right now.
Favorite to be the MVP right now.
And honestly, after last weekend,
if something happens with Saquon,
if Saquon breaks the record, I think it's gonna be really hard to not give it to him. But like I said, if Josh Allen keeps playing like he does right now, I mean, it's gonna be hard to not give him an MVP. My trash player for this week, I chose Chuba Hubbard. I'm keeping it in the same game of Philly versus Carolina. I do not like this matchup whatsoever. I mean, last week against Tampa Bay, he had nothing. He only had 3.5 points. Even if you take out that fumble completely,
it's only 5.
He only had 5.5. He had 12 rush attempts, 43 yards, 0 receiving. I mean, this matchup is absolutely horrible for him. I mean, he has. If you look on Yahoo, they're giving him a 1-star rating for his matchup out of 5.
You know it's scary when Cooper DeJean is taking down Derrick Henry.
Yeah, when he's back planting Derrick Henry, that's when it's a different level.
It's bad. It's bad whenever your corners are just
when your corners themselves are dogs.
They're taking down every running back. It doesn't matter who it is.
They're doing it.
They're taking them down.
Yeah.
Moving on. This is a new segment. The last segment. It's gonna be a one-time thing though.
It will.
We're gonna pick who we think the best player for the playoff run is going to be.
You go first.
No, I'll let
you want me to go first?
Let you go first.
Well, guess what, guys? I'm keeping it real original, and I'm staying with Saquon. I'm sticking to my guns. He has been the best player for fantasy without a doubt. This guy is by far the best running back in the league for fantasy. His matchups, granted, they're not insane, but he's proved that he doesn't even need to worry about matchups. Speaking of, I'll go ahead and go through them just for the sake of everyone who doesn't know the rest of their season. They play Carolina, who ranks 32nd against a run. That's this week. Then they play Pittsburgh. That's a harder matchup. Then they play Washington, who is notoriously not a good defense for run, even though they are ranked inside the top 12 for run defense. And then they play Dallas, championship week. Those last two matchups. If you make it championship, if you make it week 16, 17, those two games matter a lot for their playoff hopes of keeping the 1 seed or for keeping the division title. If they beat Commanders again, it's pretty much wraps. So they're probably going to be handing it off a lot. They're probably going to be making sure Saquon touches the ball. He's their best player on that team.
My player. This is going to be a surprising one. Not surprising for the position that I'm picking, but I'm picking Brock Bowers. It is risky for a tight end.
Tight ends
inconsistent, but the most consistent tight end has been Brock Bowers.
Without a doubt. This guy's playoff schedule is insane too.
When he's getting consistent double-digit targets every week, and he's getting little checkdowns from whoever is playing quarterback. Doesn't matter if it's Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, who's out, but still.
Tell him what they had last week. Tell him what he had.
30 points last week.
Yeah.
He even had a carry last week.
This is a tight end we're talking about.
14 targets. He only caught 10 of them, but 10 targets or 10 catches is 10 catches. That's 10.
I don't care what you said. He's the leading target by a dang mile. He is the
even with Jacoby Myers.
He is the number one receiver without a doubt.
Still number one.
There's no question. He had even in his last couple of weeks. Granted, Denver was a pretty tough matchup. He only had 4 for 38, but he still had 10 targets. The week before that against Miami, he had a great game.
Yeah, his playoff schedule. He does have New Orleans in the championship week, but you got to make it to the championship to even get to that point.
Yeah, but leading up to that,
for weeks 15 and 16
and 14,
Atlanta,
14 too.
Yeah, if you want to count this week, There could be some leagues that are playing.
There is.
There are some leagues that are.
I was talking to
Mr.
Mr. Adosevich. Mr. Adosevich is actually in playoffs right now. So there are some leagues who do. So
we got
2-week matchups.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Green matchup. Atlanta.
They're top 10 and worst defenses for Brock.
Atlanta. They're just middle of the road. So I mean that's a pretty favorable matchup.
Primetime game too.
Jacksonville at home. I mean, well.
They're at home.
What else do you expect?
Jacksonville's not good.
Bottom, close to the bottom.
They are.
And then at New Orleans, that's the one matchup that's kind of.
That's gonna be.
That's the one
a little scary.
That's the one shaky matchup, but still.
That's a good.
You got to be in the championship. You got to get there somehow. You got to. I'll
tell you what though, if you get there, you are gonna be living life because you should be enjoying 20+ point weeks from every one of these, except for maybe week 17.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, that's really what I got to say. I don't think that there is another tight end that can play quite like he's playing. He's making a pretty good case for himself too to win Rookie of the Year. But
that's gonna be the toughest part.
That is. I mean, it's
tight ends. Tight ends might not get respect.
They don't get respect, but what's insane is like everyone thought Sam Laporta's year last year was unbeatable, and he had like 10 touchdowns or like 9 touchdowns and only like 700 receiving yards. Brock's on pace for like almost 1,100.
I wouldn't be that hesitant for picking Brock Bowers next year. Because Laporta is in an offense where there's a lot more weapons.
Oh, there's a lot more targets. And
Shador Sanders is probably going to be the quarterback next year, so he might have a better. He might get some more downfield targets though.
That and what also scares me with Shador is that Shador is more of a player who likes to take risks with deep shot downfield, and Bowers is more of
Brock Bowers has been going. He has a couple
deep shot. He does have some deep shots, but he's more of that middle of the field. Throw it to me. I'll get you 5 or 6 yards after the catch, and then he'll get tackled. But he's very productive. He's a very reliant pass catcher.
He might be balding, but that doesn't matter. I mean, he's still one of the best tight ends.
What else do you expect from a Georgia tight end? What I do want to talk about though with him, 84 receptions, 884 receiving yards, and only 4 touchdowns. But what's more important to me is the 113 targets.
Yeah.
Wow. 113.
113.
Like he is.
That's almost 10 targets a game on average.
I want to look at what.
On average.
I want to look at Jacoby Myers because I know Jacoby Myers is probably somewhat close to that, but I want to see how much he's leading in that. All right. So Jacoby's season stats so far: he's 59 receptions. 676 yards, 2 touchdowns,
only 86
targets. So he has.
I know it was a little bit.
He has 27 more targets.
It might have been from Devontae at the beginning of the year.
Indeed, but still, Brock Bowers, even when Devontae was there, he was the number 1 by a mile, and there's no question about it.
Speaking of number 1, it's just like this podcast.
Dang right. And
number 1.
Speaking of that, this will be the end of our show. So we want to thank you guys for watching. We want to thank you guys for coming along for the ride. Me and Sandog have had the greatest time filming these.
Yes, it is.
We have had so much fun, and we hope we can do this again at some point in our life. But, I mean...
We'll come back. We'll post it on this channel.
Yeah, we will.
If it's still around.
It will be. We will have...
But we still have 1 week.
Yeah, we will. That's what I was getting to, is that we will have one more episode. I want to make that very clear. So this will be the last episode.
It's going to be the greatest episode ever.
Yeah, next week might be a little bit longer just because of
last episode. And we might be crying in the episode also.
He will.
I will. I'm starting to right now.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah.
All right, we want to thank y'all. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great week.
See you guys later.
Go win on Sunday. Go win on Monday.
Make the playoffs.
And win tonight,
If you aren't clinched in the playoffs, make the playoffs.
Dang right. Have a good day, y'all.
Peace. And win the championship. That's what's gonna happen. My team might be in a bad spot right now, but I'm still gonna win the championship. And give me some money.
All right. Have a good day, y'all. Peace.